delay. Oh, we're live? Wonderful. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our 4th annual Girls Who Print Day, despite what some people might have read today. It's actually our 4th Girls Who Print Day. And I'm Deborah Korn from Print Media Center. I'm officially girl number 2. But none of this would happen without girl number 1, Mary Beth Smith, everybody.
Thank you. No, thank you. That was the best I could do at a royal acknowledgement. So, you know, this is really pathetic. To see this, I have to wear my glasses, but you're all just a blur. So if I do this, will you love me anyway? Well, welcome to the 4th Annual National Girls Who Print Day. It is awesome to see so many of you here. And it's also awesome to see all these girls who print buttons, girls who print shirts. I love it. I love it. Girls who print earrings. I saw girls who print dog tag earlier. I've seen a charm and lots of charming people. So this is the 4th year we've been here at Graph Expo. Next year will be our 5th Annual National Girls Who Print Day. So we're really going to do that up right. That will be a big the Magic Kingdom. Now, the first thing I'd like to do is acknowledge a few people. Vanessa Carr, where are you? Come here. Come here, my friend. Right. This is the lovely V. Carr from Domtar. Everyone give Domtar a hand. Because they provided 3.5 inches of circular joy for 400 of you, and we are just about out of them, so grab them fast. Thank you, V. Thank you, Domtar. We appreciate it. Okay, here I go again. Again, none of this would be possible without the Printerverse and all these alliance partners that you see over here. So all the panels that have gone on this week and that will go on the rest of today and tomorrow are made possible by them. They're free for you, so please take advantage of them. Watch them on the live stream. If you missed them, then go in and watch the recordings. They have been outstanding this week. Okay, next, where's girl number 2? I know, surprises. Come here, dear. In spite of what girl number 2 says, National Girls Who Print Day would have never happened without Deborah Korn and the Printerverse and Print Media Center. This girl is a powerhouse. She is a force of nature. If you want to see something grow and explode, this is the person to talk to. Now, I also am going to jump the gun just a little bit, even though it's been out in print. Deborah has also been selected to the 2015 class of Women of Distinction. Yes, and unfortunately, she's not going to be able to be at the ceremony tonight. So I think I'll probably be accepting your award for you.
Awesome, thank you.
So
I was going to send an alien with Alicia.
Well, if I need to wear it, I'll do whatever is necessary. But I couldn't be more pleased that Deborah is being honored and recognized and is achieving the success that she's achieved. This is a woman who really started with nothing but an idea, a vision. And you know what? I look around and I see that vision having become real. Okay, find the optimal distance here. All right. Okay, and it is good to see so many of you that I see every year here. People ask me, what is Girls Who Print? That's a really good question. And someday I'll probably figure out the answer, but that's not today. I'm going to take these off so I can see you. Girls Who Print began as just a means of communication, a discussion group that I started on LinkedIn and thought maybe 20 people I knew around the country would join when I invited them. Well, it apparently tapped into something that just women, but men in the industry also. We are a virtual online sorority for women in the printing industry. There are no membership dues. You don't have to sign up. There's no pledge. We don't hold meetings. We don't even have rules. Well, that's right. The decoder ring, but you'll have to call me personally to find out about that. That's much too sensitive to speak of live. But we support one another. We form friendships. When you join Girls Who Print, you join a tribe. You join a sisterhood. You join a family. You will get to know people all over this country, in fact, all over the world. And you form friendships and relationships. I look around this room and I see people that I didn't know 5 years ago. And yet now I feel like if I have a question, I can call so many of you and say, hey, what would you do, or what do you think about this? And you freely lend me your expertise. People call me, ask me questions, and I do what I can. That's what we do. That's what Girls Who Print is. We will never be a formal organization. We will continue doing just what we do, which is form friendship and family. That's what Girls Who Print is. Now, a couple of interesting things happened. I've been told not to move out of this area, so hold on just a minute. In a couple of minutes, we're going to start our Meet the Mentors panel. And that's always a lively discussion about things within the industry and the roles that women play. A couple of topics that come up frequently are the bad rap that printing gets and education. Now, I had two things happen this week that caught my attention. One, here we go back to the eyes. I found this in my hotel room. And I'm not going to say what hotel that is, but it's a well-known international chain that you would all recognize. It says, this hotel takes great pride in being conscious of our environment. By providing phone books at the front desk, we're saving thousands of trees each year. I'm sorry, could the groan be a little louder here? Exactly. Okay, now, I don't know if anyone in their marketing department caught the irony that was printed on a piece of paper. But Phil Ribell, I don't know if you're in here right now or not, but I'll make sure that you see this. I mean, really.
2 sides is right here.
2 sides. There you go. So, have to put up with this. We are Girls Who Print. What can we do? We can make noise. Make a little noise for me. Yeah, okay. We don't have to put up with this. So, I've got that off my chest. The next thing that's kind of on my mind, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this on the panel, education, post-secondary education particularly. Every educator I've talked to for the last 5 years tells me that, without exception, their classes are comprised of at least 85% women. And I get to talk to these students. They're awesome. But what I wonder, as we're teaching them skills and tradecraft, are we also teaching them business skills? How to open a business, how to get financing, how to build an executive team. Are we teaching that as well? So that's something I want everyone to ponder this year as we go into 2015 and then on into 2016. What are we doing to help women not just be the worker bees, but to actually start and run thriving businesses? So that's the thought I'll leave you with. Now, let's turn to what everyone's been waiting for. Who will be the Girlie this year. I'd like to introduce you to our 2014 Girlie. Pat McGrew, would you come stand right here? Woo! Now, that's a royal bow. Pat was our inaugural, exemplified everything that we love and value about Girls Who Print. She's committed and passionate about the industry. She gives and gives and gives and gives. She's a mentor. She teaches. She evangelizes for her company, HP. You have represented us well, and we appreciate it.
Can I just mention that in Pat's bio, it now says, I've won the Girls Who Print Girlie Award. Her official bio for HP that goes around.
Yes, HP is an awesome company. We do love them, and we love you. Now, I'm going to turn the mic over to Pat, and she is going to announce the 2015 Girlie, and we will be crowning Miss Girls Who Print.
Yes, we will. Do you want to get the crown ready so we have it there? Yeah, oh, and of course, the Girlie. I have to tell you, last year getting the Girlie home was fun.
But you have advice for the winner.
I do have advice for the winner. It might not work, though. Last year, my son was at the show, and he had driven, and he had a giant van and was able to take the Girlie home in the van because that was the only way to get her home. So it'll be a discussion for this year's winner. So we had a conversation, and we were discussing who else in the industry we really wanted to go to. And there were actually many candidates. Many of you are giving back in interesting and cool ways, and many of you are passionate about the work that you do. But as it started to sort of evolve, one person came to us and we went, yes, this is the person that we want to honor. So this person has been in marketing, they have been in sales, they educate, they have been in the industry for some time. They're not a newbie by any stretch of the imagination, but you would never know that from all the energy that is constantly exuding from the 2015 Girlie. So I'm just going to leave it there, because if I said too much more, one, it starts to become too obvious, and the other thing is that as soon as I say the name, you're all going to go, oh, well, of course. So, oh, well, of course. Carrie, please come up. So Carrie Sherborne, who we all know as What They Think, but has also been with Icon and Xerox and Indigo, and has a wealth of knowledge. So please accept your crown as the 2015 Girlie. Now I'll tell you, last year they made me wear it for the rest of the day.
I know, fix it.
You fix it, but I had to wear it all day. So guess what? For all those interviews for the rest of the day, guess what? So please.
You know, thank you. What an honor. You know, I can't quite do the tiara thing as well as Amy Farrah Fowler. Ah.
Oh, you can. But we're trying to stay free.
Oh, a tiara. Is that okay? Is that Amy Farrah Fowler? Okay.
That's it.
Oh, and the Girlie.
Yes, remember, sweetie, you got to get her back to the Dominican Republic.
Yes, this will not go in a van. I have to, maybe a boat. Maybe I'll take a boat home. So the other thing I was thinking about as you just announced this, I was saying, with this great honor, maybe, just maybe, Mary Beth Smith will let me win at Words with Friends once. But I see so many more women coming into our industry and playing leadership roles. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Deb, how are we doing on time? Are we good? Okay.
I'd just like to say that I really am starting to believe that the Girlie Award recipient is the best kept secret in the industry, because no one ever knows that they're getting it. You had no idea, correct? Yep, we're good at this. We have 10 minutes before mentorship panel starts, so if you want to say stuff.
We could sing, but that didn't go that well last time. So what I really wish Carrie would, Pat would do, is tell us a little bit more about Carrie's. Say it because she would have known
All right, so I've known Carrie a long time through the business. So she's spent time in working for just about every major vendor in the industry somehow, some way. So she's been with Xerox. She's managed sales teams at Xerox. This is not for the faint of heart in any way, shape, or form. Carrie has been a VP of marketing at Icon. Marketing, whether you've been a marketing manager, a sales manager, you've been the VP or the director, these are not jobs for the faint of heart. And then Carrie is also a consultant. Now, the funny thing is we all know her from What They Think, but that's not the only thing Carrie does. Carrie has clients that she serves in the consulting space. She's someone that, of course, we love to call on at HP. She works with us and helps us with our customers. And she's not just helping one vendor, she's working with a lot of them, which means when she goes out to do work with customers, she gets to bring all that cool stuff to the customers, which is cool. And then, of course, with the What They Think angle, she's constantly writing about it and telling us all about what it does. Carrie lives in the Dominican Republic, so if you understand how much fun getting the Girlie home is going to be, it starts to become clear. Carrie's got an amazing family that does that supports her in her craziness. I think that's probably a fair thing to say. Your daughter she was doing the medical device. No, she was.
She's actually a senior technical writer at Stryker in Silicon Valley, but she spent a year at Google, and she also wrote for one of the high-tech blogs. So.
Right. So it all runs in the family, and then back at home, she's got this amazing, I'm going to call it a villa. Is that fair? It's a villa. Right. So, yeah. So she's got the giant villa in the Dominican Republic with. Well, it's the Dominican Republic. It's not small.
And now a tiara.
And now she's got a tiara, right? So she's Amy Farrah Fowler, and she can fuzz over the tiara. But Carrie is a lot more than just What They Think. So if you ever have a chance, go out and actually read her LinkedIn profile, and you'll start to see. Well, the only thing you'll see on the LinkedIn profile is just the last 13, 14 years. There's a whole lot more to Carrie than that. So, yeah, we all cut our LinkedIn profiles off at a certain point in time. But please read it, and then please congratulate Carrie, because we think she's wonderful.
Let me say one more thing about the Girlie. Yesterday, I posted out a photo of the Girlie in front of the Girls Who Print banner on the Facebook page. Well, within a couple of minutes, there was a comment. It was from my husband. He said, "Who would want that?" Exactly. And I immediately responded to him, "Everybody wants it. It comes with a tiara." So they get a grip.
And it's actually interesting that you're talking about Facebook comments, because when I was talking about the Girls Who Print Day and the Girls Who Print group, I had a couple of guys who said, "How come there's not a Boys Who Print group?" And I said, "There is. Look out there." That's them. We're here. But I do have to agree that I see many more women here. I see many more women representing their companies in the booths. They're having serious conversations with customers. They're not just booth babes anymore, although there are a couple out there, you know. But I think, you know, I want a booth beef guy. I think next year I'm going to get booth beef.
Oh, you're volunteering. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
We'll take you. So we're going to start our mentor panel in 2 minutes. If you guys can just sit behind your names, and the rest of the panel can come up, sit behind your names. This is definitely, we need some water for the panelists. Anybody? And we're just gonna, this is your phone, Mary Beth Smith. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll give this to two sides, is right there. I'll take the guys too.
I think I was closest. And I really apologize.
Where is Julie? Do we have a Julie yet?
How are you doing?
Oh,
having a party.
I like your ears.
Thank you. Yes, you had to do the whole.
Of course you won.
If I was going to do it, I was going to do it. Right. So there you go. Charm, everything. Yeah. There you go. Get over with Girlie.
Keep rolling. And if there was ever a time for a photo op, it's going to be as soon as these women sit down here. We're missing Julie Schaefer. Okay, let's, we put her on the end? Perfect. Okay.
Yes, that'll work.
Thank you so much.
Go girls. Here we are.
Let the press take some pictures.
Oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah, wave, royal, say Gruyere. Yeah. Dr. Cummings, we had emailed, but we had.
Okay, so we're going to start, and then as if Julie comes, that would be fantastic. She can join us, and if not, you guys get more airtime. How does that sound?
Yay, Julie!
Okay.
Oh, run!
Speak of the integrated marketing devil, there she is.
Fashionably never. That's
Making an entrance.
Julie Schaefer.
One does have to.
Okay, so this panel has really become a tradition, and I'm a national tradition, but really a worldwide tradition. Every year, Tuesday of Graph Expo, there are colleges out there that make this mandatory viewing, and they have discussions about this panel afterwards. So everybody out there watching, say hello to the students, especially our girly students.
Actually, he has the camera pointed the other way.
Oh, he's looking at me. Hey, students. We try to mix it up, but our regular voices of mentoring on our panel, and we call this a mentor panel because the significance of the careers of the women on this panel can help you by hearing their stories, hearing their opinions. I guarantee you that everybody sitting listening to this will learn something, will be able to apply something to their life and pass it along to somebody else. So let's just start with a brief overview, Carrie. And I'm sorry, if we can pull the mic out and pass it around, it'll be a lot easier.
Yep.
We learned that about 4 panels in yesterday instead of passing the middle thing around. And we'll start off with our Girlie Award, 2015 Girlie Award winner. Carrie, if you could just tell who you are and what do you do?
Didn't we just do that?
Well, for anyone who just came in.
It's another live stream.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I came into the printing world actually from the end user perspective. I ran right before I joined Xerox in the mid-'80s. I'm really old. I was running a tech pubs department, and actually for a small company, I actually took over the IT operation too, which was a little weird. But so coming at it from an end user perspective, and then adding the vendor perspective, that's been really, really good. So as you guys said, I live in the Dominican Republic. I've been down there for a decade. I had my own business now for about 13 years, Sherburne and Associates, and what they think, I got a call from, at the time, the CEO, Randy Davidson, in 2002, and he said, 3 people have told me you should write for us. I'm like, why would I want to do that? But in the end, it's been really, really great. The visibility has been great. The team is great, and it's nice to have that platform to, share some thought leadership things with the world.
And before we get to Dr. Cummings, I just want to say that I couldn't be more thrilled to death that you're joining us this year, Dr. Cummings. We have been doing these crazy projects together behind the scenes for a while, to join us here today. And I just wanted to tell you how much I do appreciate that time that you're giving us to share your experience. So thank you very much.
And I'd like to thank Deborah because she's been so instrumental in helping me with a lot of the research that I've undertaken over the last few years. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you for allowing me to be part of it. Although I must say I get a little annoyed that everybody doesn't respond. So respond to the damn survey. It's 3 freaking questions. I had 5,000 people look at it, and I should have had 5,000 people take it.
Calm down. Calm down. I kind of stumbled into this industry when I got out of college. My mother said, "You need a job right now," and I ended up working at Me Corporation as an ink tech person, and found out that I was in the printing industry. So that's the way I started as an ink chemist. That division of Me was purchased by Eastman Kodak in the 80s. So I'm right with you. And then that division was purchased by... Oh, thank you. That division was purchased by Cytex and then repurchased by Kodak. But in the interim, while I was there, I was an ink chemist. I then moved into quality assurance and parts of manufacturing, and then landed into marketing. I decided I'd rather be on the business side versus the technical side. And so I ended up in marketing as a product manager and then as a strategic business manager. And in 1997, I left Cytex, which is now Kodak again, and went to R.I.T. and then got into the academic space. So every time I thought I was getting out of the graphic communication industry or the printing industry, I'm still in it in a different way. So I am one of those people sending them your way, and hopefully we're going to talk a little bit. I think it was Mary Beth that says, what are we teaching our students? What are we teaching all of our students? But what are we teaching our girls about being able to negotiate, start their own businesses? So I hope to be able to talk a little bit about that.
Also new to the panel this year, somebody who I'll never forget this experience. I was at another show in New Orleans, and I was by myself just wandering around, and Kelly was sitting at a table, and she saw me, and she called me over, and she told her colleagues, now we're going to have some fun. And also was the first official media person to say, hey, come with me to this press conference. Didn't even think I was allowed to go in there, and really helped open up a lot of doors for me. Walking around with you does give me credibility, so thank you. I messed up her table tent. It should really say Printing News, and the Twitter is @Printing News, so I just wanted to say that out loud. Kelly?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Holmes, and I'm the group publisher for Printing News. We just rebranded from Quick Printing Magazine and My Print Resource into Printing News. I have been in this industry for about 23 years. I started out very much like you did, with my mother saying, okay, it is time to get a job now. So I took a sales job at a local printing magazine called Quick Printing, and we have been bought and sold several times since then, and I've worked for 9 CEOs that have come into the printing industry and said, wow, this is a really great market, but we think you should run it. So now I'm running it, and 6 years ago we actually took over the Graph Expo Show Daily project, and so we're able to work very closely with the Graphic Arts Show Company to bring that to you every day, and to hopefully your hotel room delivery if you book in the room block. So that's a little bit about me. I have 3 children. So they have watched me pretty much grow up in this industry and really don't know anything besides printing at this point. They say, Mom, you are really a printing geek, because I go and pick up menus and try to tear them and do all these crazy things when we go to restaurants. And when I see something digital on the table, I kind of go, oh, really? But I think we all have that similar experience. So
thanks so much. And you guys can share the other mic on that table. But before Pat starts talking, I just want to say that I would not be sitting here if Pat McGrew was not my personal mentor. So, I start getting a little emotional when I talk about it, so I'm not going to, but I'm just going to say thank you so much.
You got it, kid. I should actually be thanking you. So my name is Pat McGrew, and the job that I hold right now is as the inkjet evangelist for HP for the Page Wide Wet Press division. You might have noticed we changed our name Sunday. which made life a little entertaining for the last few weeks, to put it mildly. I have been working in print since I was 12. I'm just not going to give you another number to do math with, okay? I started working for a company that had been in the printing business from the 1700s. I started spotting rubylith, for those of you who know what that is. I was a stripper of the kind on a pole. That is where I got the tiara, yeah. So the ink has been running in my blood for a long time. I was working for a printing company that had been in business for a very long time. I intended to become a journalist, and my way in was to learn the backside of it, how the thing got printed, and I did that from the time I was 12 until I left high school. They taught me typesetting. They taught me good font, bad font. They taught me good design, bad design. They taught me all the things that go into it, and I took that to college, where I majored in journalism, and at night I was a typesetter. And that kind of kept me balanced. And then I went into TV news for a little while, and then discovered I didn't like lying to people. So I wiggled into technical writing, because journalism gives you good skills. And as a technical writer, I started to become also the technical trainer in insurance software. Now that's sexy, right? And service station software, also very sexy. Materials requirements planning software. Now there's sexy for you. But eventually wiggled my way into a position where I was writing books and owned my own company that did high-speed printer data stream transforms. And I'd have killed to have that education ahead of time to tell me how to run the thing. I learned on the fly. I had a business partner who had his own ideas of how to spend the money that didn't often involve paying the taxes. It was fun. We learned our way through for 10 years. We sold it, and since then I've worked for Pitney and HP and Kodak and Infotrans, and it's been just an absolute roller coaster. And along the way I've been really lucky to meet a lot of really cool people. And I love mentoring because it lets me give it back.
Thank you. Girl number one needs no introduction. Mary Bismuth.
Shall I hand it over?
No, you
Some of you know me better than others know me. I kind of fell into printing. Actually, it was a big pot of ink, but that's a different topic. No, actually, I was a fine arts major. I majored in pipe organ, of all things. There's a career path for you. Printing, in many ways, it's my second career, because I did teach music for many, many, many years. All the time my children were growing up. My children didn't grow up knowing me as a printer. But oddly enough, as a small child, my first BFF had a printing press in her garage where her father ran a little print shop. I was always fascinated with that press, and we'd get chased out of the shop, but my eyes would grow wide. And I found myself always fascinated with paper, with the touch of it, the texture, with color and design. I had a whole collection of what I call box top princesses, because every time we got a gift box, I would turn the lid over and I would take my big crayons and I'd make myself a princess. Oh my gosh, with a tiara, come to think of it. So anyway, but after a lifetime of teaching music, I went into marketing. I had done marketing kind of on the side, PR, but I actually got a job. And that morphed into printing. I was always interested in typography. I published newsletters. I published community publications, and actually got a job selling printing in the early 1990s in Boston, even though I know you all recognize my Boston accent, right? Yeah, by way of Dallas, Texas, y'all. So it's been a wonderful ride. All the things I love the most come together in this industry. Paper, texture, color, design, people. I had just a street education in business of all kinds simply by virtue of selling printing. We have birds in the printerverse. It's a sign.
I think they're birds.
The ark has landed. But selling printing took me into every kind of company that exists, nonprofits, for-profits, institutions, enterprise organizations. I got an education in how business works across every industry, and that has been so valuable to me. Now, Girls Who Print is a labor of love. I do have a day job. I am Vice President of Sales and Marketing for a printing company. I am also Executive Director of a marketing group and publisher for a small publishing company that works with self-publishing authors. So I wear a lot of hats. None of them are a tiara, but it keeps me busy, and I couldn't be happier to be involved with this industry. And I will hand this over to Julie Schaefer.
Voyage.
Thank you.
I thought it was very important to have you on the panel because you work at the largest organization that speaks to and deals with the printing industry, the printers out there, and you have firsthand experience of the women out there in the field. So thank you so much for joining us. Also, when I have crazy color questions, I ask you. Remember, I saw that 3D color model and I was freaking out.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We provide stuff for the industry. So, Julie Schaefer, Vice President, Digital Strategies, Printing Industries of America. My organization is the largest print trade association in the world, and along with NPES and Epicon, we actually
Julie,
own the show.
I can't hear you, thanks.
Speak up, girl. I'm a soft talker. Often have to hook these things on a molar so that you can hear me. I started out in journalism, like some of my colleagues here on the panel, and worked in advertising for a while in my 20s, and I won't explain why I was disillusioned, but had a little disillusionment there, and was going to go back to college to become an English professor. I was going to go get my PhD in English, and for some reason got a job before the next term at a local printing company called Hochstetter Printing in Pittsburgh, and that was it. Okay? I don't know if it's the ink, the chemicals, something got me, and I was hooked. And I moved to Denver for a while, and I worked for a company that had Cytex systems, and we were one of the first to really do photo manipulation. That was a big deal, and you took a Cytex system to do it. And part of my job, I was a customer service person, and then I quickly went into the shop floor and worked with Macs, and we would take Macs all around to designers and agencies in Denver and teach them how to use them. This is in the late 80s, and I'm aging myself too. And so training's always been a big part of what I do. But I've worked at print shops, at color trade shops, and all of my career. And in 2000, I went to work for JTF, the Graphic Arts Technical Foundation, who at that time was officially actually merged with Printing Industries of America, and since it's been fully merged. And I've been there for 15 years, and I spend a lot of my time talking with printers. We have 23 affiliates around the country, and I do a lot of speaking. I've written a number of books, and I've focused often on technology, but now I take care of all of our educational programs. So we have a new e-learning platform, and we do conferences and webinars, and we're there, we really exist for the benefit of the industry.
Thank you so much, and let's give everybody on this panel a round of applause before we go any further. Okay, so I'm going to come back in with you, Carrie, and we'll start here. Outside of your family, if that applies, what woman has had the most impact on your professional life, and how?
Hard question.
We don't lob them in the printerverse.
Yeah, I have to say Barb Pello, and many of you in the audience would know Barb. And I first worked with her at Xerox when we launched the DocuTech, and that was a game-changing product for the industry. Great experience to have. And the reason that I pick her, we worked together at Xerox. I don't know if I can even keep track of it all. Xerox, InfoTrends, Indigo, Icon, and then we did some private consulting together when she was at R.I.T. And she always pushed me to the next level. You know, I mean, she'd always say to me, no, you can do that. You can do better than. When she hired me as the vice president of marketing at Icon, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. She's like, of course you do, and if you don't, you'll learn it. So just get your act together. So she's had a tremendous impact. And there's one other person that I want to mention that was a tremendous mentor. I haven't seen her for a while. She's in the room today, and that's Phyllis Michaelitis in the back
Phyllis.
there. So Phyllis for many years taught at the Leesburg facility, which was the main training facility for Xerox, and I went through a lot of classes with Phyllis, and she really is another person that really had a big impact on my career. So thank you, Phyllis.
Dr. Cummings, same question.
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me because I'm like, okay, there's so many people. And when you said outside of family, if you hadn't said that, I would have said...
If it applies to your
yes.
professional life.
To my professional life, on the family side, I have to say my grandmothers, both of them, very strong women, and they instilled in me that kind of trait where there's nothing too hard for you to do, and you're never too old to learn. And you should not be afraid to take a challenge. Very strong women. And I think that's where I kind of got my foundation of taking risks, at least as I feel that I have. On the professional side, I would say one of my first mentors was a woman that I worked with at Kodak Cytex Mead in Dayton, Ohio. Her name department. And when I started to progress in the company and decided that I wanted to get into management, she was there to really kind of guide me through those organizational politics and the social graces that I wasn't aware of. And so I feel that between my grandmothers and people like Martha really helped me develop a foundation and be willing to try things that I might not have done on my own. And I think that's when I really started finding out the value of mentoring. I think we have mentors, and sometimes we didn't realize those were our mentors. And there are many other people, but I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
It's interesting because it really goes back for me to my high school years when I was on the yearbook staff in high school, and I was a junior and a senior working on the yearbook staff, and there was a lady that taught us. Her name was Penny Shaldo, and she said to me one day, "You're going to stay in the publishing industry," and I really didn't believe that would happen, but here I am 23 years later, and I'm still in the publishing industry. But I have been so fortunate in my career to work with so many amazing, incredible women at companies like Xerox and Canon and Tanya Starr with Printer Presence. And I started in the days in the printing industry that it was very rare for you to run into a woman. And so to be up here on a panel of Girls Who Print is just kind of an honor for me, because there has been a change in this industry where many successful women have come into the marketplace. So I went to NAPL meetings, 20 years ago, where you were the only blonde in the room, and it was a little overwhelming, because if you didn't have the Navy suit on, that was a weird thing, and you felt kind of out of place. But I think today you really don't see that now. Now it's become more of a marketing-driven industry, and so I've been really fortunate to work with a lot of really talented marketing managers over the years.
Thank you so much, Pat.
So I actually have two, and one is a weird one because it's completely out of the industry, but probably the single person who's influenced me the most is a woman called Cynthia Mariotti, who none of you will ever have heard of, but she was my 7th, 8th, and 9th grade Spanish teacher, and I still talk to her today.
Wow.
Right? Not only do I talk to her today, she talks to my son and mentors him too, because when he was in school and was trying to figure his way through, she got into dialogues with him. She's one of those people who always told us that we could do anything. She taught a class in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade of 14 girls and one boy. The poor one boy, right? But honestly, she not only taught us Spanish, she taught us life. She taught us to prepare for a world where having some language skills would help us in our quest for good jobs. There was never any doubt in her mind that these 14 girls were going to be going into business, that they were not going to be stay-at-home moms, and so she prepared us for it. So she did a lot of that infrastructure. The other person in the industry, inside the industry, who would probably laugh hysterically when I say this, and it's Barb Pello. I've known Barb for just decades. And at times we've had great relationships, at times it's been contentious relationships, but there has never been a time in my life when I couldn't pick up the phone and call Barb and ask a question or drop a note and get an answer. And even if we hadn't talked for 6 months, she always will come back with help. And that's what mentors do, right? It's not a daily conversation. Sometimes it's every 6 months or a year, but they're there for you when you need them.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth Smith.
It's really interesting thinking about the women who have mentored me. I think just on the personal level, as far as helping develop a sense of self, I would have to say the legendary and longtime musical director of the Brownwood Independent School District in Brownwood, Texas, Miss Dorothy McIntosh, who was the music director there for 40 years. We learned the importance of teamwork. We were state award-winning choirs for generations. We learned to respect the time of other people. We learned to think about how we present ourselves. We were an a cappella choir, so we sang without accompaniment. We worked people from all different areas of a small town, people from all different kinds of families, but we worked together and we presented a united front. We became a community, and even now, 5 years after her death, the people I grew up with still honor her. Decades of us still honor her. We discuss her, the things we learned from her. So I think it was about living an honorable life and giving your best, and standing up, holding your head up high, and from the musical Gypsy, sing out, Louise. You know, just say your piece. Stand up with your head held high and do it. On the business front, I would say another hometown woman from Brownwood, Texas, was Mary Jane Holland. Mary Jane and her mother began a children's clothing shop in the early 1950s. Today, it is still operated by the third and fourth generation of the family. I worked taught Mary Jane's granddaughter music for a few years, so you have this sense of connection and community anyway. But the thing I learned from Mary Jane was that you can start something and you can make it successful. You can build a team, you can give back to your community, and you can be rewarded for it. And you can continue to give back to the community the more that you are successful.
Thanks so much.
Now, in the printing industry, Okay. In the printing industry, quickly, I would say in Boston at Copycop, Vice President of Sales Cheryl Reed, and production manager Donna Materer influenced me so much. That was when I first came into the printing industry per se, and to see women taking charge and making decisions and having people pay attention to what they decided was awesome. And I hand this to Julie.
Thank you. Julie?
Sure this time?
There's time.
All right, I'll say something weird. You know, an industry mentor that I have, I never met, and she died when I was still a teenager, but I think her ghost rambled around Graphic Arts Technical Foundation and Printing Industries building, and it was Naomi Berber. There's an award named after her for women in the industry. I have her typewriter. It was given to me by Lloyd DeGitis, who was a long time with JTF for 45 years. And it is a focal point in my office. People will hover to this thing. But Naomi, I know her mostly through stories of people who knew her personally. And she was kind of a ball buster. She was a tough woman who kept things going. But she did what she did. She was dedicated to education and improvement in this industry. You know, she ran around those halls and just kept everybody at it. In the days when JTF was inventing products, before the vendors started taking over doing that, a lot of that was done at GATF. And, you know, I really feel like, even though I never knew her, she was a mentor to me because she was a really strong woman in a male-dominated industry.
Thanks so much. Okay, we'll come back to you, Carrie. How do you get heard?
Heard?
Heard.
Oh, a lot of videos.
Well, I kind of mean more like when you have an opinion and you need to voice it, and you're in a male-dominated industry. How do women get heard without stereotypes and names getting applied to it in a manner that's respectful? How do you get heard?
You know, I have to tell you that my first job out of school, I was working for Lockheed Missiles and Space in Silicon Valley, and it was a lot of older retired Navy guys. and back in those days, the whole thing about sexual harassment, you didn't even, talk about it, right? So, but I never felt discriminated against, really. It just never occurred to me that was a possibility, right? So I just proceeded along like I was a person like everybody else in the room. And, you don't like raise your hand and do all that. You just say, hey, wait, this is what I think, and I'm going to tell you what I think, and you can take it or leave it. Yeah. I read something recently that I thought was really interesting, though. And I can't remember the organization that did this, but they did a little mini research thing. There was a meeting with both men and women in the room, and they asked the attendees to count the number of times that everybody in the room used the word "just." I'm just going to do this. Just let me tell you this. So it's a qualifier, right? Fast Company. Okay. And it was amazing how much more often women use that word than men. So when you're talking to people, just don't. There, I did it. Don't be tentative like that. You really have to believe in what you're talking about and say it, and people will listen.
Thanks so much, Dr. Cummings.
I agree with everything Carrie has said, and I'd say for myself, in a position of leadership, people listen. And many years ago, when there was an opportunity for me to be in charge of something, I think I kind of like to be in charge of things, but I realize you get more respect when you are the leader, whether it's a leader of a committee, you're a manager of a department, vice president, director, etc., senior associate dean. People respect the position. And so I found that that's how I get people to listen. I think I have something to say, and I say it in a way that I'm confident. I make that a point because we talked about who are our mentors. We are mentors for others, and I want people to see an example in the way that I handle myself in leadership situations. I remember many years ago when I was younger and in situations where all the people in the meeting, most of the people in the meeting were men, and I might have been the youngest person, might have been the only person of color, I would sit next to the person who was leading the meeting. And so that I would be able to piggyback and usually it was a him, if I had something to say. Sometimes I don't have anything to say, but if I did, you get heard when you're sitting next to the leader or you are the leader.
That's great advice. That's fantastic advice.
That is great advice. For me, I never really had a problem being heard because I was captain of the cheerleaders for 4 years. So I had a very loud voice and was, really kind of out there in front of people. But I think that taught me a lot, actually. And I think it teaches you how to deal with people. It teaches you how to deal with executives and managers and teachers and principals. And that was really one of the best experiences that I ever had. We weren't liked by a lot of people, but we weren't the mean girls. We were actually girls that tended to find communities just like this one where girls could come together and really, really see opportunities and be exposed to other opportunities. So, that's training from, and I don't even think that I really knew it was happening. So,
thanks so much. Pat?
Oops, I keep hitting that. I am determined to do it.
I somehow grew up with the idea that I didn't have to apologize for being a girl. My dad told me all the time that I could do anything I wanted, I could be anything I wanted. Now, sometimes he did that at the top of his lungs, yelling at me, but that was sort of the kind of family we were. So I didn't come into college and I didn't come into the business world thinking that I was second best. And I think that that's critical. I think that if you come into the business world thinking, oh, I'm just a girl, I can't do that, then you've shot yourself in the foot right there. So you have to come in with confidence. The idea of positioning yourself with leadership that Dr. Cummings mentioned is something that he taught me early on. He was a union leader, and that gives you some unique perspectives in the world. And so if you position yourself near the leadership, that doesn't mean you always have to agree with them, it doesn't mean you parrot them, but if you position yourself on their path, you are more likely to be recognized as being in that path. And anytime anyone asks you to volunteer, to lead something, to do something, you just say yes. And I did that a lot. And in the end, it pays off for you because visibility is as much a part of being heard as being heard is.
Thank you so much. Mary Beth Smith?
I think about singing experiences when it comes to how do you be heard. Some rooms have really wonderful acoustics. I've stood in rooms and opened my mouth to sing, and it was like I heard angels. That doesn't happen often. And other rooms are just dead. And I liken that to what happens to us when we're sitting in a meeting or in an organization. If you're not being heard consistently, maybe platform. If the people that you are working with refuse to hear you, find your tribe somewhere. Right. Go find the group that appreciates what you have to say. You may be having to say it in other venues to get heard, but don't think you have to stay trapped in an environment where you're simply not being heard. That is not the case. Someone wants what you have to offer, so you may need to find a different room.
Thank you so much. That's a great advice, too.
I really think that the advice I have here is be the one in the know. And I agree with what some of you said about aligning yourself with leadership. A CEO often is not on top of what's going on in terms of new technology and that sort of thing. And in my case, I look and I learn about it. And I sometimes will devote 6 months of my own life in the evening, right? Instead of watching TV, learning about a subject, 3D printing, for God's sake. But here I am, speaking about it in about half an hour's time. Make yourself the one in the know. And I've always, fairly rapidly, in the jobs that I've held, gotten to have a pretty decent relationship with the CEO, even when I first started, because I was there to help with things. And I was often the person who implemented or learned about the new technology. And in fact, I was hired for a job once purely to be the person to implement new technology in that company. So educate yourself, spend your time learning new things, and you will be heard.
Thanks so much. And before I move on
Could I add one quick thing to that?
Quick.
Something I heard my uncle say when I was in my teens: if you want to have job security, you go learn about something that not very many other people know about, and you will always have a job.
That's totally true. And I actually asked this question because I had read something that women are apologetic a lot of the times. And I keep reading my emails, and I keep finding myself saying, I'm really sorry I'm bothering you, or I'm sorry to ask you for this. And I don't get any emails from guys that even use the word sorry. They're just like, I need this. What is the answer to that? So I've been like, why am I apologizing for asking for something I need, as, oh, I'm really sorry I'm bothering you to get paid for the job you hired me to do, but where's my damn check, So, there's a fine line, but that's where that question came from. And I'm going to take some of the advice here, and I do thank you all for it. This question I'd like to specifically address to Dr. Cummings first for a few reasons. One, I recently helped you with a study about racial and demographics in the printing industry. And second, I think it's pretty obvious that you're a woman of color on our panel. So can a mentor-mentee relationship work if both parties do not share the same racial and social demographics?
Yes. And I say that because, yes, I am a woman of color. It's quite obvious. And most of the mentors in my life, professional mentors, have not been women, and they have not been of color. And they have been very successful, and I maintain many of those relationships today. The majority of the people that I mentor in the workplace are not of color, and most of them are not female. But, and it's very successful. I mean, I've had good mentors. I'm able to give back. People do seek me out. People younger than me, people older than me, and very few are people of color.
Thanks. And I'm going to move on to the next question so that we can also get questions from the audience. So let's start with Julie. We'll start down there. Teleport back to the early years of your career. What advice would you give yourself? And if you followed it, would you be in the same place you are now?
I kind of have this theory that you always end up where you are no matter which way. If you went back to the Wayback Machine and could go back in time and redo it, you'd still end up in the same place. And I probably would have done a little bit more with technology a little bit earlier on. Going into journalism, at the time, I won't say the date, but it was a popular thing at the time for some things that happened on the national political scale. But it was too broad, a little too loose, and I think I may have focused a little bit more specifically on something technical. I don't know if that's a great answer, but that's the answer.
There's no right or wrong answer. So you're basically saying you would have just gotten to technology earlier, and you probably would have ended up in the same place.
That's right. Even when we toured printing plants when I was in college, I thought they were wonderful. Of course, then, and this is true, when we went through it was a very large printer in Pittsburgh, the stripping tables with all the orange light, there were guys leaning over stripping tables with cigarettes hanging out of their mouths, with ashes dumping down on the ruby lithe. And so now you know really how old I am, and that wasn't the cool part, but I really thought it was pretty great.
I have to admit, I have no idea what a ruby lithe is, so just so everybody knows. It's all right. Well, somebody will tell me later. Mary Beth Smith?
Oh, I'm kind of like Julie, I think, at my advanced age. I know the path I'm on is the path I'm on, and I certainly wouldn't change anything as far as if there were other opportunities. I think when I was coming of age, women were not really encouraged to do anything except get out of high school and get married. And in fact, the June following graduation every year was filled with high schoolers getting married. Those were the times. But I certainly would have enjoyed having more opportunity to get involved in technology in the 1960s, but I didn't, and yet here I am. So, what do you do?
Thanks so much, Pat.
One way or the other, I was going to wind up here. I think that I tell people that every career shift, every job change, every weird thing that's happened over the last 35 years seems to have been meant to get me here. So when I was in college, the plan was to go become a network news person. And my goal then was to learn everything I could about as much as I could so that I would be the person who could get that job. Then I discovered things about doing that job that made me not want to have that job. It just set me up for everything else that came. So in the end, I think it's very hard to look back, 35, 40 years and say, what would you do different? Would it have brought you to the same place? But I think everyone that I know kind of looks back and goes, well, clearly this is where I was going to end up. So clearly, this is where I was going to end up.
Thanks so much, Kelly.
That's really interesting because we share that in common, actually. My degree's in radio, television, communications, and I did an internship in college with Channel 7 in Orlando with Natalie Allen, who later on became a CNN reporter. But it wasn't meant to be, and the local affiliate in our town went out of business, and basically it was too. So that didn't happen, but now, many years later, as Carrie well knows, we are back in the video game in the publishing industry, and so that education has kind of served me well in trying to plan the video interviews and the executive interviews that we do here at the show. And so, I tend to think that anything that you come across in your life will serve you and it will bring you value. It might not happen immediately, but at some point in your career or in your lifetime, you could come full circle. So,
thanks so much, Dr. Cummings.
As I mentioned, I have an undergraduate degree in chemistry, and when I got into college, that's all I wanted to do was be a scientist. And if I had it to do over again, I probably would have gone into business because that's where I kind of ended up. I would have never expected to end up in academia, but I love being in academia and don't want to be in I don't want to be in corporation. But I think I would have pursued a business acumen and hoped that I would have still ended up in an academic setting. Now, whether I would have been into graphic communication, I don't know. But as I said, I fell into the industry. I was a chemist. I was an ink chemist for a graphic communication company, and here I am.
Thanks very much, Carrie.
And I just want to say, Kelly, you have a face for TV.
She does.
She does. I think there are two things that if I look back, I would have done differently. The first thing is take more risks. And I'm going to go way back. That I was blessed to grow up in Silicon Valley, so I've always been immersed in technology, and I love it. But I was working for a small defense company, and my boss, who was the vice president, was starting a startup company, and I was too afraid. He wanted me to do it. I was too afraid to do it, and I've regretted that. The other thing is, I guess I shouldn't. I've been adventurous because this next door, I spent 2 years living in a village in East Africa, and when I came back home to Silicon Valley, it was just weird, the readjustment to, the materialistic society and all of that. And I interviewed at Atari. Some of you may. Okay, it was actually a financial clerk job, and the woman who took that job became the CFO of Atari. And I'm like, and by the way, Steve Jobs was working there then. So I'm like, there's some. And then the second thing is to know when to move on. So take the risks and know when it's time to move on. Barb Pell is an expert at that. Okay, and I never kind of learned. She always got there before I did and left before I did. You know, it was like, wait a minute, I'm missing something here. But and somebody said that earlier. You know, if you're not being heard, you're not in the right room. And so take the risks and know when to move on.
Before we go on any further, does anyone in the booth have any questions? Please don't be shy. Comments?
They're shy.
I know there's some students here. Where are our students? Did they leave?
They're being shy.
They're being shy? Okay. No questions for this panel?
Right there.
Question? You have a question? You have a question? Go ahead. Okay, let her ask the... Okay, here you go. Sandy, somebody wanted to grab the microphone? Here comes Marco. I got Marco. Thank you. Marco Morales.
Yay, Marco.
All right. So I also randomly ended up in print. I was just kind of looking for a job after college. And I've been looking for some other education, not necessarily back to a full degree or a master's. And I've seen some online, but they're kind of cost prohibitive. Is there a way to get financial help with that, or is there a place that kind of specializes in less costly education for printing?
I'm not going to address printing specifically. I'm going to address general education. There's quite a movement in the university environment to online education that's available, like Stanford and Cornell, and I mean the big names. And it does cost money if you want to get the certificate at the end, but you can go online and you can register for these courses and you can take them at no charge. And if you want to, I'm sure R.I.T. does the same thing, and you could probably address this better. But I think that's, important to, if you have an area of interest, go take a look at what's available. I forget what it's called now. There's an acronym for MOOCs, yeah, Massive Online something, yeah. Yeah, MOOCs, MOOC. So search that, and there's also a couple of companies, private companies that are sponsoring these. They're using Stanford professors. Take a look at that and take advantage of those. And the Khan Academy is another one. KAHN is another one.
And we actually offer membership to the organization for students at a very, very low cost. So if you're interested, come see me afterwards.
I just wanted to add that RIT does have an online presence. Unfortunately, it's not free, but it is at a greatly reduced tuition. But I think the other suggestions are really good if you're just trying to learn more and you're not concerned with getting some type of degree or certification. That's a great place to start.
And also the TED sessions. TED Talks. I mean, all those are available on YouTube. I mean, there's just a wealth of information out there.
I just wanted to underscore or endorse what Carrie said. I often ask people what their greatest advice is to younger people, and the best advice I ever hear from them is get out of your comfort zone, take more risks, and almost inevitably it pays off, even though you might not think about that it does at the time.
Taking the risk of becoming an expatriate was a big risk, right? Just picking up and moving to, Kenya. That the Dominican Republic and say, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to see where it goes. I'm going to do this. And it was great.
I'd like to congratulate all six of you. It's fantastic to see you up here and talk the way you do. I've been in the business for 50 years, and primarily as a sales finder, sales trainer, and sales developer all over the country. And when I meet with a printing company and they want me to find a salesperson, the first thing I ask is, do you have any women? Because I've hired and developed probably 300 over these years. 40% of the men that I have found have been successful. 60% of the women have been successful. And in fact, I just had a discussion with a fellow here from another state that was looking for a woman in Chicago to move to his state because he's had very good success on it. So any women in the room that have a marketing bent or a sales bent, you want to look at our industry because we really need you.
Very good. Marco? While we're waiting for the mic, let me just also say that there are scholarships available through EDSF and through PGSF. So there's scholarships available to help with that cost prohibitive problem.
Hi, so I recently fell into the printing industry as well, and since you guys have been in this industry for a really long time, I was curious, what about the industry helped you and made you want to stay in this industry and not move to another?
I came into the industry from the digital side. I had to learn about offset. I had to learn about Ruby Lith and stripping and all of that, you know. But so, and again, Silicon Valley, you know, kind of being in the heart of technology. And I need to move to a different industry. But then you look around and you think, no. And I think a lot of it, especially now, it's the dramatic change that's happening. I mean, we're just at a very exciting point. And I always like to call it the vibrant underbelly of the printing industry. You know, there's companies out there that are doing really exciting things, and it's blending print with other media and making that full communication, you know, world available. I mean, it's just a really exciting time to be in the industry. And I'm going to suggest to all of you in this room a book that you absolutely should read, and it's called The Inflection Point. It's available for pre-order right now. It's not available yet till September 29th. It's written by Scott Stowski, who's an executive from HP, which will be the enterprise side, right? It's a little bit HP centric in some ways, but what he says is that, you know, it's between big data, the cloud, SaaS, and mobile apps, and we're in the midst of dramatic change. You can't really see it because you're in the middle of it, but read the book. It's absolutely the best book I've read in a very long time, except for the trashy novels, you know.
I think one reason why I've stayed in this industry, even though I said I was trying to get out of it, but I always landed back just in a different way, is because of the opportunity for creative problem solving. The printing, whether you call it printing or graphic communications industry, crosses every industry. I mean, so you have an opportunity to work on the retail side, in healthcare, education. We serve every industry in the world by what we do. And so I like working with the people, and now I have opportunity to work with students and engage in research. And so that's why there's always something fresh to do.
I would say that the years that I've been in the printing industry have been probably the most scary that the printing industry has ever been through, because as a publisher of a printing magazine, I was the one that had to pick up the phone and call the subscribers and say, we are launching a website. And that met with great resistance at the time. We had a lot of subscribers that believed that the internet was going to put the printing industry out of business completely. And I still get calls to this day that say, why are you sending me these emails? And why do you have a website? And don't you know you're putting your own industry out of business? And so 45 minutes later, after we get off the phone, having this whole conversation of, I am a print buyer. Our company is a $33 million print buyer, and one of the things that we have seen happen is that really print has remained flat, and our business has driven up in revenue immensely. So while the magazines certainly are smaller in this industry, it's because of the industry consolidation in the marketplace. But I will tell you that the marketing side of the business, every business in this country has to have marketing. And if you don't have marketing, you will not be in business. So that's why the printing industry is so vibrant, is because it really touches all aspects of marketing. And when you bring that digital component back into the print magazine itself, it makes it even more exciting.
Come for the job, stay for the people. Because this is an industry that takes care of anyone who asks for help. And you don't find that in every industry. Worked in a few others. It's not quite the same.
I personally think there's an electromagnetic force that will pull you back if you try to get away. But no, I think you either get it or you don't. If it's in your blood, it's in your blood, and you just go with it. And then there's a point where you've done it so long, it's like, what else would you do?
Here's the thing about print. It's becoming the high-end medium, right? We don't see too many forms printed anymore. A lot of the junk print, it is a high-end thing, and I like it. It's becoming new again. Right now, for the past 15 years, it has been a rough ride with the internet coming in there, but now it feels exciting again. And if you look around the floor, some of the cool stuff you see here, you can see it and you can feel it. And I did a session yesterday, like Carrie said, on interactive technologies with print. There's a lot out there, right down to and including printing electronic circuits. And if we could just think about new products, you know, we don't often think about that. We're both marketing service providers. We can also be manufacturers of printed products. There's a lot. There's a bright future.
Thanks so much. We have time for 2 more questions, Dwight, and then our student.
Is this on? Hi. So I've been through this business a lot of years, worked with a lot of programming people, pre-press graphic designers, things like that. So I just have this quick experience. I don't know if you could speculate on why I've seen this. I don't believe it's necessarily anecdotal, but when I run into women of a certain, I'm just going to say of a certain age, that probably got into the business at a certain time, they always explain to me how they got into it doing Fortran, COBOL programming, all of this really hardcore programming stuff, like in the late maybe 60s and into the 70s. And I was wondering, it's a lot of them. I mean, not just a few, but a lot. And I was wondering if you might be interested in speculating. Is it because all the men that did it then are dead? Or is that why I see so many of these? And I think I just want to make a comment on that, because they've stayed in the business, and I meet them. They're not doing COBOL and Fortran programming anymore, but they're doing regular, they're doing the stuff that we do now, the variable data. They become pre-press and graphic designers, and they're still very viable. So like with all the STEM stuff now that's happening, and I'm excited about that part of it. And maybe just a comment on that stuff too, and how younger people, women in particular, can use that to help our business, I guess.
Well, congratulations that you have recognized that women are the backbone of many, many companies in this industry. And I have no real speculation other than to say that women have a real aptitude for technology. We tend to pick it up quickly. We also tend to be flexible, and we will work with a team. And as the technology changes, women tend to be able to change with it. And I think that's why we're seeing more women in that.
Okay, so the bad side of that is that very often the women who started out in programming roles were passed over for a lot of promotions, right? The reason that they ended up moving over into marketing jobs and moving into graphic arts jobs and pre-press jobs is because they could wiggle their way over to them, and they had the aptitude to learn it. But the men who were over doing those Fortran jobs and the Pascal jobs and all the other fun ones, those are the guys who got tracked into promotions in programming, and their value was recognized, and they were promoted and groomed into those jobs when the women were left behind. The women were forced to find their own way. And a way that they could go was through the graphic arts, which was a little bit more accepting than the programming line of succession was. I know a lot of those people.
We have 2 more questions. Okay.
Hello? Okay. Hello. Okay, so I am a student. I just switched my major, as you were saying, like stepping out of your comfort zone and how that's good to do that. I just did. So I was previously a paralegal student. So I just switched from that to graphic design literally just a month ago. So like my interests, I mean, I want to be a graphic designer. I'm also interested in like pretty much all kinds of media. Like, I love like guitar, like the guitar, photography, graphic design. Oh, sorry. Everything like that. So I guess what's a good piece of advice or a good starting point? I mean, I'm already in school for graphic design now. I just started at a community college. But I don't know, what's a good advice to kind of like tie everything together or in general for being graphic design?
Graphic design is a great start. But what I find is if you're going to be a contributor in this industry, you need to experience with graphic designers and students of graphic design is that when they find themselves in other environments, they can't complete the supply chain cycle. They can design things, but they can't design things for multiple platforms. They're not learning that as part of graphic design. So what we have a lot of students that do an undergraduate degree in graphic design, do a graduate degree in printing management, so they actually understand how to take those designs and produce content, viable content that can be reproduced. I would also say that be as interdisciplinary as you can and as versatile as you can. I can't emphasize that enough. I think it's great when you know more of them, have more than one skill.
And I would just expand on that by saying, this is probably not a popular comment here, but think mobile first. Because if you think mobile first, it's the web design, it's the mobile apps, it's the print, it's all of that. But you have to really go where the people are and where they want to find the content. And print is a part of that. But, you know, if you focus in solely on print, you're missing an opportunity. You need to look at the whole picture.
I would agree with Carrie. I think one of our biggest challenges in our publishing company is that our graphic designers design for print, and we've got a whole additional group that design for digital. And that is very confusing, and for those of us on the strategy side, that increases the amount of time that we have to have conversations with the people that support us. Designer in my career that I worked with that actually trained herself on HTML and the printed page, and she was my go-to person. I did everything with her because she knew the strategy that I wanted to implement, and she was able to do what I asked her to do. So that's really good advice.
I just want to say that the academic world has heard that, and they understand that, and students are really learning that skill set.
I just talked to a major brand. I won't say which one it is, but they're looking for training. Okay, sorry, I can hear myself real loud. We're talking to a major brand, and the gentleman was in charge of, he was in his 60s, but he's very frustrated with the younger designers they work with. They work with hundreds of them. And basically, they don't know things like what is bleed on a page when it comes to print. And so I find that a lot of folks who come out of a pure design program don't have any of that grounding in print. So I would encourage you to use the resources that are available. YouTube, Printing Industries of America, there are a lot of them out there to learn the finer points of how to design for print, because it will do you $1 billion worth of shipments this year, more establishments than McDonald's. So there's employment there. And there's really a dearth of young people going into print, and we're looking for people like you to come in.
One more question from a student that we got.
Hi guys. So you guys have created such a wonderful community, being really supportive to all the women, and I was just wondering, what would you recommend be the first steps into creating that in my own university? Because coming from a male-dominant industry, it's funny, we have 75% of our students are female, so we have a 3-to-1 ratio.
That's in the graphic arts
Yeah,
program.
at Ryerson.
Well, first of all, you all need to be wearing shirts every day that say "Girls Who Print." If you want to be heard, sometimes you just need to be visible. But do projects that get you noticed.
Let me say that a lot of students from Ryerson come to our TAGA conference, right? And if you can write a paper and be seen there, that'll get you seen by vendors in the space as well as printers in the space. And we see some great stuff from the kids coming out of there, so that visibility really does matter.
So if you want to create a community at Ryerson, that you want to get a girls who print group together at Ryerson, right? Start with your Explore group, right? Find all the girls in the Explore, because Ryerson rocks, right? You guys, you know how to build communities. There's no question. Just do it. Don't wait for somebody to come to you and say, would you like to join us? You be the one who does it. And that will teach you some leadership skills that will work for you for the rest of your career.
And I spent some time in Silicon Valley this summer and actually worked with my son who's starting a new company. And one of the tools that I came across was called meetup.com. And it is an amazing tool for people that are just starting out and they want to launch new groups. They give you really valuable tools. So with all the tools that you have available to you in social media these days, establishing groups and obtaining followings is easier than it ever has been. But you can't just put it up there and walk away. You do still have to engage with it and send it to people and have people help you network your group as well. But networking would be the key to starting a new group.
And I just want to add, don't worry if there's only 5 or 6 people who are interested. Go with that group. Everybody gets upset, well, nobody's interested. If 5 or 6 people or 3 people, that's 3 people that are interested. Go with that.
And I'm going to chime in here because I do consider myself a community builder. I couldn't agree with your comment, Dr. Cummings, more, because when I first started my LinkedIn group, it was me and 3 other people, and then there was 30 people in it. And at 30 people, it hovered there for a while, and I was like, God, should I shut this thing down? My name is on it, I'm embarrassed. But people started telling other people about it, and before I knew it, there were 500 people in it, and then there were 1,000 people in it, and there were 5,000 people in it, and now there's almost 90,000 people in it. It's the #1 print group on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. But it all starts with an idea, and that's what I would actually encourage you to do. Put something out there. Ask for, hey, we have a website and we want content for a blog, and we're looking for contributions from the students, and give them a topic to write on, and you'll start getting contributions, and you'll start meeting people and networking with them, and once you share it, they'll share it with their friends, and it just grows. If you build it, they will come is true as long as you stay true to yourself. Don't try to cater to those 5 people that might be following you and take a committee on, vote, what should we be discussing now. What I've learned is that if I have this question, there's probably 20,000 people who have the same question. And if I am interested in something, there's other people that are interested in something. And I've never let anybody influence me as far as topics that I think are relevant, trying to pay me to talk about things. That's just not who the community that I've created or that I serve, where we collaborate with each other. And I think you'll find that that is the strongest community in the end, because all of you have skin in the game. You've all built it together. And whenever once a year, maybe twice a year, I'll send an announcement to my LinkedIn group. And I don't take any credit for the group. I've let them in, and there's certain parameters to participating, but without their participation, without them So thank you very much. And thank you very much, everybody, for joining us and the panelists. It's been wonderful every year. Congratulations, Carrie, on your award. Dr. Cummings, once again, appreciate your time staying. Kelly, Pat, Mary Beth Smith, Julie. Does anyone else besides Pat have a booth here at the show? Do you have a booth? You have a booth? You have a booth? Okay, let me, everybody just give a little information about where they can find you at the show if you want. Anybody? Julie, anybody? You can pick it up.
We have a booth. You think what's our number of our booth, Kaylee? 3802. And straight that way. And I actually have to run because I'm about to teach a course in 10 minutes. So on 3D printing. Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right, Mary Beth Smith is here, and I'm at the front of the hall. And Kelly, where do we find you? 240. And
R.I.T is on Education Row.
R.I.T is on Education Row, and Carrie is always wherever What They Think is. She's everywhere. Thanks, Deborah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Our next panel is at 2 o'clock. Incoming, print techs and trends you cannot ignore.